Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Advertising Ascendancy podcast. I'm here with Ross Fledderjohn from Las Vegas. He's the owner of Stammer.ai. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
I'd love for you to just jump right into it and introduce yourself and everything you do. I think AI is a big conversation happening on the internet, and I know that my listeners would love to learn more about it. I am super new to AI, so I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in the conversation. So I'm a little excited for myself to learn as well. So just take the floor.
Right on. Sounds good. Well, yeah, my name's Ross Fledderjohn. I started Stammer.ai about a year ago now. I've been a website developer for over 10 years, running a website development agency, and realized over the last few years that trying to do service-based work was kind of a futile effort, so to speak. So tried to get into software as a service, SaaS, as quickly as possible. And when ChatGPT and AI kind of hit the scene and everyone was kind of, super obsessed with it, my take and a lot of my colleagues and peers who are also agency owners were all kind of asking the question, hey, my clients are asking me about this AI stuff. How do I integrate this to their business? Or how do I make money from this AI thing and actually give it to my clients in a way that they can actually use it to enhance their business and not just be a distraction? Because I'm sure, like many others, like me, you've been scrolling on social media and you're like, oh, there's an AI tool, there's an AI tool, there's an AI. So it's like, there's so much out there. How do we simplify it and make it easy for not only the end user, which it could be a business, but the agency owner who's helping the business owner set all this stuff up and manage it? How do we build a platform that is built for them, for the ground up? And that's what Stammer.ai is.
Amazing. So explain a little bit more about what your platform does. Like, is it good for small business, medium business, enterprise level? And if they do use your app, what could it be? What could they be using it for?
Yeah. So a good use case is customer service. A lot of websites have a little customer support chatbot, little icon in the bottom right-hand corner of their screen. And typically, if you click that, it might walk you through an automated flow, or it might even be a human on the other end. Now, this provides, or this gives kind of two complicated things about this. One is it could be super complicated to create this spider webbed flow. You have to connect this to this thing, and then this to this thing based on somebody's answers, which is not necessary. That's not quote unquote AI. That's just a workflow. And then the other option could be having actual humans on the other end, which you're paying hourly, and that has a large cost. What a lot of businesses tend to realize is the customer questions that they have follows that 80-20 rule. 80% will be the same question over and over and over with small variations and details or whatever it may be. This is an extremely perfect use case for an AI agent to be trained on those questions and be able to have that conversation with a user, to be able to answer their question almost instantly and be able to, on average, solve customer queries in about 2 minutes compared to the 11 minutes that it would take with a human, for example. So
Amazing.
That's like the end use case, and that's what the platform Stammer.ai can use to build. But it's all kind of wrapped in this concept of how does a business or an agency, for that matter, white label it for themselves. And that's kind of where our competitive advantage comes from a lot of these other platforms, is an agency can white label it to their brand.
That's amazing. So if I'm understanding this correctly, you have an AI chat bot that's learning about the business and can now respond to questions and queries as long as it's related to the topic on hand. And it'll be able to answer it in different variations for the business.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Businesses
really
can
cool.
upload their documentation. They could scrape their websites. A lot of businesses like scraping their actual documentation or their user manuals. And so that way the AI actually knows specifically, how to do certain things. And it could be used externally for customers, where a customer is like, hey, what's a good product for my XYZ use case? And the AI could be like, here's a good product for this. Here's a link to click. but it could also be used internally for a company. So let's say, a company wants to onboard a new employee, and that employee is like, when is open enrollment for Medicare, or, whatever it may be, instead of having to email, Beth in HR who refers you to so-and-so over in this department. Like, you could just ask the AI, when is open enrollment? And then it goes through all the company documentation. Bam, it's just March 3rd, or whatever it may be.
That's pretty cool. I always found it shocking that we don't see a lot of car dealerships or car brands using this kind of software on their websites, because clients have such specific niche questions of like specs and this and that. And then they have so much inventory, and a software like that in that niche would just be so beneficial to them as a brand, because client could say, hey, I'm looking for a car with spec 1, 2, 3. And the AI could answer and show all the exact cars that are on the website for those exact, demands. So I think there's a lot of industries that could really benefit from that kind of software. And I'm surprised we're not seeing them jump on it quick enough. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and I think it's because there are examples out there in the world where people have tried to implement this before it was ready, or before they applied the certain guardrails that are needed in order to prompt the AI to do and follow the right instructions. So there was a dealership, I believe like a Chevrolet dealership in Texas, I believe, that right when ChatGPT kind of came out, they tried to install one of these chatbots on their local dealership website.
Okay.
And a user prompted it and asked, hey, can you give me a deal on, a 2020 Silverado? And the AI was like, yeah, sure, it's a penny. And they opened a lawsuit because they're like, well, the website said that it would sell me the car for like a penny. And there was this this whole, hullabaloo of trying to figure out how to, and it kind of comes down to like, okay, if they had set up the AI agent in a correct way by providing those right guardrails, then it wouldn't have said that in the first place. It wouldn't have, created a quote of a car where someone, potentially have, potential legal repercussions.
It's going to be a tough sell to sell a dealership now after that.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, wow. So
it's getting better.
It's getting better. Yeah, I think that brands, how could you see that translating, for example, like a small local business? Because I think that, AI is the future, and brands should start adopting these strategies to their branding and to their marketing. However, how do you see that fitting for a small local business that maybe is like a hair salon, or I don't know, like a local clothing store? Or how can they, utilize this to save time, save money for themselves? Because ultimately that's what this problem solves. And where would you see it fitting?
If they have a website, then that answer becomes extremely easy. Within the next 12 to 18 months, every website, every business, almost every customer in the world is going to expect to have some sort of AI solution
Chatbot,
similar to ChatGPT or whatever they're used to using, that's trained on the company's documentation, that the AI knows everything about it. So from a user and a market perspective, like a more high-level perspective, my belief, and a lot of other, basically all of our customers and all the people that are trying to implement AI into these businesses right now, is they see a future where every business, everybody has this interface, and it's just kind of, where is it implemented? So if you have a website, that's an easy answer. If you have a lot of local businesses use text message marketing. They'll hey, sign up for our local business. Well, if you could have an AI agent sit behind that channel, or WhatsApp, for example, you could send messages and have conversations with users at scale based on current promotions, trying to get users or customers back into the store. We had some guys in New York for a while that were selling AI agents to restaurants, where they would set up and prompt the AI agent to answer questions users might have about a meal. This is a vegan one, this has this many calories, whatever it may be. And then at the end of the conversation says, hey, take a screenshot of this conversation, and when you go into the store, show this screenshot to the register or the person, and you get a discount, you get a free drink. And it creates this feedback loop of, oh, the business owner now sees people coming in. I keep saying users, like customers. Customers are coming into the store and actually using the thing that they were sold on. So it's not this kind of like, oh, I buy this thing and then it's just goes away. People start actually interacting with it relatively quickly.
I had a client that I actually put a chat bot into their website. They're in the restaurant industry. They have a catering company, and it brought up the revenue by 30% in leads that we were getting. Like, it was crazy, actually. I was quite shocked how many clients are using the chat bot just to ask questions, to place their order, and you get like a real time, like your lead is on there from advertising. Let's say you're running Google ads and you don't have a chat bot, and that user's on your website, and you have no way to connect with them unless they fill in a lead form. But if you have a chat bot, it's a really quick and easy way to get their contact information, and from there be able to remarket them even if they don't close right then and there.
Exactly.
So I think if you're doing any form of, meta advertising, Google advertising, it would kind of be almost, it's just kind of ridiculous to not have that on your website, in my opinion. Like, why wouldn't you want to just get the lead while it's hot right then and there? Now you have their information.
Time to touch. Everybody knows, like as you know, speed matters, especially when you're paying to acquire that lead. So if you have people and humans following up with every single lead, there's going to be a point where they don't instantly follow up with that lead that is being generated. Well, who never falls asleep and never gets tired is these AI agents that can be trained to do that follow-up process automatically every single time, and it be a perfect conversation. One of the pieces of feedback that we get quite often is how much better these AI agents are at having conversations than human AI agents, because a lot of the times these are outsourced VAs who maybe English is a second language, where AI is perfect at all this stuff. So the conversation can be customized and tailored to that specific use case, rather than it being like, oh, this person may be tired and the conversation's just a little off.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the AI doesn't have emotions, right? So even in a conflict, for example, if you're dealing with a disgruntled client, you're not going to get emotional. The AI is not going to get emotional and handle it the wrong way, versus an employee might, and can actually make the situation much worse for the business.
Yep.
What do you think about people that are kind of freaking out, thinking like AI is going to ruin the world? I'm not one of those people, but obviously.
Like taking everyone's jobs, or what do you think?
I had a conversation. I was at a bar. This was like 3 weeks ago, and this girl, she's a lawyer, and asked me what I did for work, and I said digital marketing, and AI marketing came up in the conversation, and she went on like a 30-minute tangent about how AI was going to destroy our life. What do you think about that? What do you say to people when they have that reaction with you? Because that must be something that you get often enough.
Yeah, especially in the comments, for sure. In general, it's ignorance, really. It's just ignorance. Once you start using this technology, you see where it falls off. It's not it's not magic like a lot of people may think it is, or how these viral videos may make it seem. And I think that's where when people actually start getting over the threshold of like, okay, I've actually used AI, like I would be very curious if you asked that person how many times or how many different platforms they've used, or their overall usage of just AI in general. Because when you start doing that, you start to realize, oh, it can't actually do this to the way I'm thinking it might be able to do. Oh, I can't just do everything. And I think that's where people like myself and a lot of these other agencies that are using AI know, like it's nowhere close to being Terminator, or we're nowhere close to any of that yet.
Yes, I see that question a lot, especially because we offer SEO services, and we get asked all the time if we're scared of ChatGPT, like taking away our job or taking away our services. And for example, Google's webmaster guidelines have made it so strict that if you're using a ChatGPT blog, they're actually going to penalize your website. So ChatGPT, from an SEO perspective, has saved me time in the research stage, meaning we can come up with ideas and we can research information on a brand or on a service or on a niche on a high speed that we were not able to do before, which is half the battle when you're writing content. But if I just copy paste the blog from ChatGPT, Google is like really on top of that.
Yeah.
And it's shocking that a lot of people don't know that, because you can tell. I mean, once, like you said, once you're using the platform enough, you can actually see like H1 tags that you're like right away, you're like, ChatGPT wrote that.
Yeah.
And this person wasn't even willing to rewrite it. You know?
Delve.
Yeah, there's just like
thing.
certain words that you're
Yeah.
like, okay, that was ChatGPT right then and there.
And other platforms are picking up on this too. Instagram, TikTok, you've noticed how they've started to add little toggles. Was this piece of content made with AI? And it's like a warning label that all the platforms are putting out there
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's a little sneaky, but on Instagram, when you try to post a new reel or a video on TikTok, there's a little slider. Was this created with AI content of any kind? And that, I think, is going to set the stage for human, prevalence long term, because anybody can make faceless, nameless, AI voiced videos. But what can't, people like you and I who are having a real conversation, like that's the stuff that is going to resonate long term, because that's going to be what's hard to replicate. AI cannot be creative or have these new ideas. It might seem like it can, but everything runs up against these walls where you realize that, it's all just regurgitating the same stuff. It's saying the same H1 tags over and over. So I'm like tripling down on my personal content, my personal brand, creating human content, not using AI in any format, and writing included.
And I think that's a really smart move, because what's going to happen now is all these content creators, if we're talking about social media specifically, they're all starting to look and sound very repetitive, because they got on the AI train, ChatGPT train, to create their content, and they got away with it for a bit. But now you're really seeing that repetition in the content. You're like, what are the odds? And now you're starting to put it together. Okay, this is AI generated. It's not authentic. The whole point of social media is you want to follow people that are having authentic conversations or sharing their authentic life, or whatever the reason you're following that person. It's not because you thought they ran this content through ChatGPT, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I agree with you. I do think ignorance is probably the best way to put it, is ignorant. I think that what people need to do is actually start learning how to incorporate AI into whatever they're doing, because it is the next gen. So it's like our grandparents who, never figured out how to use a cell phone. Well, today they're losing out. You should have just learned how to use a cell phone. It didn't go away, right? If anything, it evolved. So I think people need to just kind of start teaching themselves how to use these platforms, because if you're not, your competitor will, and they're just going to be faster at doing stuff than you.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you start scrolling and you start seeing all this stuff, you're like, and the switch in a lot of people's brains, it goes from, maybe I should actually try one of these things that I'm seeing. Like when you put the phone down and go and try it on your computer, or try it on whatever, platform that you're doing, like that's that switch where I always try to keep learning, and I'm obsessed with trying to find, the next thing in the next platform. So I'm always trying these different platforms, and a lot of them give me great ideas on how we can make our own platform better too. So it's like, and our associated business and clients and partners. These are just these things I think that are going to be, again, more prevalent over time as human content is the move.
For sure. So let's say, we have listeners that are probably for sure haven't dabbled in AI yet. That's for sure. And what would be your best tips, best advice for them, that how they can get started? Like what platforms, obviously yours 100%, but just to get used to the concept of incorporating AI into their business, whether they're a marketer, whether they're just, a business owner right now. Because a lot of our listeners are business owners, and how can we help them with incorporating it?
The first step I like to tell people is using ChatGPT beyond the fun use cases. So instead of just writing a poem for your dog, use it as your quote unquote co-pilot on a daily basis. So for myself, and I'm probably like many others out there who are using this, quote unquote power users, I'm putting everything into ChatGPT almost to just have another perspective. Like it's a bounce board. Like, hey, here's a sentence I just wrote for a new section on my website. Write this 10 different ways and tones and styles, just so I may think of a different way. I'm not, like you said, I'm not going to copy and paste that direct thing, but I may take the first chunk and the last chunk of this one, and then that becomes the section that I use. And it's like having this other idea generation that makes my job in so many facets way easier. And most of it is text related. So when I'm designing websites, ads, blog, all the things comes down to that.
That's smart. That's a really good idea. I never use ChatGPT that way, actually.
How do you use it?
I'll use it for like, let's say there's a subject that I don't know about. I'll be like, give me all the information on this subject on a highlight point kind of way. So now I can read and learn like everything about the industry. And now I get the picture so that I can go and like create my ad copy or create my landing page based on the information that they gave me. Or I'll ask like, what are the common like benefits of the service or the common, solutions for the service. And then from there, I'm getting my information versus before I would have to actually go on Google and research this, which would take hours and hours and hours. Because with my clients, when we're doing a website or we're doing advertisement for them, we really want to, and where we niche is we want to do like proper customer journey mapping. So we do extensive research, and that would take me so much time, so much manpower. So from that perspective, it saved my business a lot of money and it saved me a lot of time. But I've never really thought about it to like use it as to bounce ideas off of. So I love that idea, and I'm going to try it out.
Was that your aha moment with AI and ChatGPT, is when you realized, oh my gosh, I could cut 10 hours of research to one?
That was like, I was never afraid of AI when it started coming out. I actually was excited about it and wanted to see like where it was going to go. I knew from a marketing perspective, like marketing is about creativity, branding is about creativity, and the AI can never replace that. So I never really looked at it from a perspective, oh, this is going to take my job away. I thought that was just like Chicken Little, almost like, he thought the sky was coming down, right? And it wasn't. That's how I saw that, more fear mongering, I guess. With ChatGPT, I just like right away from an SEO perspective, I knew it was just a matter of time before Google would like crack down on that. So I never even went down that rabbit hole with it. But I never thought of looking at it from a different perspective than research. To be honest, I just used it as a research tool. And then chatbots right away, as soon as that came out, I mean, we put them in a few clients' websites, and right away their revenues. If you install it properly and you use it with the right way, right away you see a difference in results. You're catching the lead while it's hot. I mean, that's your goal. That's like everyone's dream. You can get the lead while it's on the website and get their contact information. I mean, how can you ever say no to that? It just doesn't make any sense to me, right?
Yeah. The big article that came out from Klarna maybe a month or two ago, they said that they had pushed AI chatbots to 2/3 of their customer support chats. It replaced or did the equivalent work of 700 full-time human agents, customer support agents.
Wow.
Dropped customer support time from 11 minutes to 2 minutes, and they estimated it was going to drive $40 million of additional profit for their business in 2024.
Wow. Like people get afraid of that, but people also need to realize like these businesses have been through hell with COVID and everything else. They need to like kind of make their money. I mean, there's all these conversations, I guess, that go back and forth, but I think if you're really good at customer service, you're not going to get replaced, in my opinion. I don't know.
Of course. I mean,
right?
That
I think it's
being said,
replacing the people that are just kind of complacently doing their job and not necessarily doing it right. And you see that, like how many times you deal with customer service that just got you so angry, right? You see it all the time. Let's be honest, like it is a conversation to put out there. Like I know when I call Bell, I don't know if you guys have Bell in the US, but here it's like Bell Canada, that's our cell phone service. Like I want to rip my hair out of my head dealing with a customer service agent. I would almost rather deal with an AI, get my answer and move on.
Yep. Yeah.
That's cool. Why don't you let our listeners know where they can find you? Because you have a pretty cool YouTube channel. I was looking at it. You got lots of followers. You got really great content. I loved your content. And so maybe let everyone know how they can find you.
Appreciate
and
it.
Follow you.
Yeah. Just Ross Fledderjohn on pretty much every platform. I post on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok.
Sweet. Well, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for everyone for listening. It was a great conversation. If you guys have any questions on AI, check out Ross Fledderjohn. You know where to find him on YouTube. Check out his content. And thanks for joining me.
Appreciate it. Thank you.